Okay. Well, welcome back, everyone. It's been about 7 months since our last podcast episode, and our last podcast episode was a special. So really, it's been, gosh, about 7.5 months once this is published. It might be breaching on 8. Since you last joined us. It's me, your boy Blitz. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't know why I did that. And as always, my wonderful co-host Jim. And this is the first episode of season 2. Don't know how many episodes are going to be in season 2. Don't know the publish speed of season 2, but we're back for season 2, and that's what matters. The podcast is still going. I'm realizing I should probably look at the camera and not at the OBS screen
It's
of
okay. That's okay.
us talking. What I need to do is I need to figure out how to move you over to here so I'm looking at you when we talk. Oh no, what it is?
Oh, we can just face each other. Like you just flip it.
Yeah, no, I'll just flip my camera. This
There
is
you
gonna
go.
be jarring to do live. But you know what? It must be done. It must be done. There we go.
There we
Now
go.
I'm
Now it
looking at
looks
you
like
when
we're
I
having a
talk.
conversation, right?
Well,
Wait,
you've
your
got to
face-
flip you. You've got to flip you too.
I'll do it later. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
You'll take yours in post, okay?
I'll do it later. I'll do it later.
Well, it's easy for me because I'm just in OBS. I just do the,
Yeah, right.
the OBS button. But yeah, so it's been about 7 months. And we're back for season 2. A lot has happened in between then and now in the world of gaming and in the stuff that we normally talk about. But before we get into all of that, what's been going on with us? Specifically, what's been going on with you, Jim? How you been? What's been going on?
Let me tell you the life story of myself for the past 7 months. Where do we start? Okay, so let's start at the beginning of the year, I suppose. God, is it? When was the last? Oh, it was December, wasn't it? It is 7 months. It's July.
Yeah,
It's
it would have
July.
been. Well, and the last time we had just like a regular talking one, I think was end of November, like post Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Mhm.
So,
do you remember when we said we would come back?
did we
March.
actually say we were going to come back?
we said it was March. It's
Did we say
July.
that on the podcast, or did we just say
We
that
s-
to each other?
I think we said it on the special. I think
Oh,
we said, yeah,
geez.
like April.
Well, because I thought that I would move and get all settled, and which I did move.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that because that's been a whole trip. But getting settled takes a lot longer than you
Than you
realize.
thought.
Like actually,
Yeah.
because I spent. I'll just get into it. So I moved in February for my new job, which I won't give any detail about. I do work for one of those companies now where I actually shouldn't talk about my job. But I moved from Utah to Ohio. I moved full blown across the country. For those that don't know. And Ohio's been wonderful. Ohio's been lovely. I feel like it's an improvement in every way over Utah. Other than not getting to see my family as much, but I'm able to go back and visit. I'm very blessed in that situation. But getting settled took way longer than I thought. Like I moved in February. In like the first week, I had all my streams set up, like good and going. And I think I still didn't stream for like a month and a half. And then when I did, it was like super sporadic. And that was just because like I'd come home from my job exhausted every day. And I'd just sit in bed for 2 hours on my phone. And then I'd be like, oh, well, I basically wasted the night. And I wasn't even playing very many games. I was playing games on my phone. And that was really it. And then it was like a month or so ago, I finally it clicked for me. I was like, man, no, I think I'm in the swing of things. I'm going to put an actual stream schedule up. So I'm streaming Tuesday, Fridays. That might shift a day or two. Like I'm going to stream tomorrow instead of tonight so that we could record. Though we probably will normally record on a Saturday. We're recording Friday because of the holiday and it just was easy.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll figure all that out in the long run. But no, it just took a lot longer than I expected to really like mentally shift back into a rhythm where it's like, no, I can go to work. I know how much energy this is going to expend. Commuting into the office is a whole thing now, but you know, at the end of the day, it's been good. I like the job. And it's just been like shifting into a point where it's like, okay, my brain is ready to make content. And I started streaming, and I've been streaming for a month. And then it was like, finally, you and I talked, and we're like, okay, let's put a date on bringing the podcast back. Let's make it happen. But it's like, I think truthfully, if we would have tried to do this in March, we would
have worked.
We would have put out one episode, and I would have just been like, dude, I can't. Like, I am not mentally where I need to be. And I don't think I would have been very entertaining on camera. Like, I would have been dead through whatever we were recording. I've actually thought about doing a PNG tuber for the stream, just for days that like I don't want to deal with it. Like, so I'll be like, oh, I'll hop on stream, but like my chair goes all the way back.
Right.
And if I could do this with a PNG tuber and just like game and talk,
what you need,
that is significantly easier.
What you need is that because there are some, because I bought a new camera mount. There are camera mounts, you know, like for top down views on the desk, right?
Yeah.
So you just need to do that. Just put it somewhere, just like a top down view. So when you're going like this, you're just looking up.
Oh, and it just tracks with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have no way to tell. They won't know.
Yeah, exactly. They won't know.
They'd be like, why can't we see your wall anymore? Don't worry about it.
I can see your floor.
That's not carpet. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I mean, so it took me a while to get back in the swing of things. I feel like my backlog has grown a ton gaming wise in that time, because I just wasn't playing a ton of like regular games. But I finally started sifting through it. I started Monster Hunter Wilds finally after seeing them announce the expansion. I'm getting ready for that. I beat the main story. Now I've got to level up and get ready to take on the big monsters. I want to fight Omega. Everybody tells me, no, you don't. And I'm all like, you don't know me. I do want to fight that bug. But yeah, that's been me. I don't know how we shifted back to me with.
Because you. I think it was mostly you defending yourself because why we didn't record back in March.
Why we didn't start in March. Yeah, no. All of that was a defense of the last 3 months of no content. I will take the blame on that wholly.
No, it's not entirely your fault. It's not entirely your fault. No.
But yeah, what have you been up to the last 7 months?
I feel like I've just been traveling.
When did you go to Japan?
It was in when was Japan? April. It was in April. So I went to Japan.
Okay, so yeah, that was while we were on hiatus.
Yeah, so I went to Japan in April. That was cool. Yeah, a lot of cool experiences. A lot of I loved going to the Namco buildings, the Namco arcades.
Oh yeah,
fantastic. The Rainbow one in Osaka is pretty cool. That's where we did karaoke night one night.
Dude.
In near Dotonbori, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Did you bring back any treasures?
Yeah, I brought you some treasures. We'll talk about Fanfest in just a second. We also
that's
went to
right. That happened. Jeez.
That was also the same month. That was also April.
Well, and that was supposed to be episode 1. Was we were going to record a live episode at Fanfest, and then
no, we were so burnt. We were so tired.
Fanfest was so fun, though. We'll have to talk about that.
And we'll talk about it now. Actually, we might as well, because Japan is. I don't need to harp on about how good Japan is. I think everybody knows how good Japan is. Blitz here has talked about how good Japan is. I don't think you need to hear more gospel about how good Japan is. It was fantastic. If you have the opportunity to go.
Very succinct. Very succinct.
Yeah.
So I agree with everything said. Man, yeah, I feel like you did bring me treasures back.
Yeah, I got you a Miku thing.
Oh, that's right. She's right here.
Yeah.
Gundam Miku.
Do you still have the light stick?
I do. It's downstairs.
Yeah, I have it. I don't want to get it, but yeah. There's a little Gundam Miku. So I went to the Gundam in Odaiba.
Camera, focus. There it goes.
The Gundam statue in Odaiba, Diver City. Diver City Mall? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the Unicorn Gundam,
So-
right?
Yeah, the Unicorn Gundam. They had their store, and I just picked it out of the gacha. So I did get you a gacha gift. That's what I did. So
That's what I want. That's what I love.
which honestly, okay, if I'm being honest, it's not that bad of an idea if you just give gifts, like these small gifts that you're like, oh, I don't have enough room for like all my friends that I'm gonna give gifts to. Idea for you if you do go to Japan, go to like a place that has a bunch of gacha machines, find their interests, put a couple coins in and just give them all the balls. Like I just give them the
Dude,
gacha.
So that's one of my favorite gifts to give. The other thing that I really like doing is I go to Daiso and I get like little stationary things, and people love that. And it costs nothing. It costs nothing, and you can usually fit everything you buy in like a bag like this big. You can usually buy the bag at Daiso to carry everything.
Do you not have a Daiso in Ohio?
We don't have any. We just started having them open in Utah, like right before I moved, like 2 months before I moved. So they're slowly making their way across. But we have some other stores here that I've never seen before. We have, it's called like Miniso, I think. They sell a ton of anime merch. There's a mall up north of here that has a store just called the Anime Store. And they have a ton of stuff from Japan. Which isn't really what Daiso is. But
it's a Chinese retailer, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
But yeah,
beside the point.
Yeah, we don't have Daiso. We don't have Daiso, which
the only reason when you said Daiso was like, but I have that 10 minutes away from my house. So I'm like, it's one of those things where it's like,
that's true. As those have moved into the US, it's not the best place to get gifts anymore. But I remember when I lived over there, I went and they had a bunch of little statues, just like clay figures, and I sent those to my family, and like half of them broke on the way, but my brother still has the little frog that I gave them. And that was a Daiso gift.
Right, yeah. I will say this though, before we move on from Japan, before we talk about FanFest. You are a huge fan of Osaka, and I will let you know now. If I had to if I lived in Japan, and if I had to settle down in a city, it would probably be Osaka. But for a lot of, a career life, yeah. That the 20s, I think Tokyo would probably be the better one out of the two. So, in my opinion, I
think as a foreign national living there, Tokyo is easily the best option. It is very English friendly. It's just kind of foreigner friendly in general in terms of like getting stuff that you may miss from your home country, getting stuff from abroad. And Osaka has those things too, but like Osaka is the Japanese vibe, where like Tokyo is the business vibe. And yeah, I think definitely from a business perspective, living in Tokyo makes sense. That's probably where you're most likely to actually get a job that pays you something, as opposed to just about everywhere else.
Right. So, okay, well, Japan aside, we also went to FanFest, which was late April.
Yeah.
That was late April, yeah, end of April. And
insert pictures that you took on his camera that he bought in Japan here.
Actually, I didn't use my camera a lot in FanFest. Actually, I've only probably used it like twice. I used most of it was on my phone actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because
I remember I tried to take a picture and I was like, I'm trying to get the lens on, and it was taking too long.
And I was like, just use my phone. I will tell you, the weird. This is gonna be a very weird statement. The thing that I was impressed about the most about FanFest was not about FanFest, but it was about the Anaheim Convention Center and how cooled that place was.
Dude, the Anaheim Convention Center rules. The staff that were working the event, like, because most of them were like convention center staff, not necessarily Square Enix staff, but they were like excited to be there. They were excited to talk to you. They wanted to like make sure you were having a good time. I feel like they did a lot of good stuff for ADA that had been overlooked in the past. The place was cold the whole time. like you mentioned, which like I remember like during the Primals concert,
It was comfortable.
I never felt like I was overheating or crazy sweating. And we're like up in the front jumping, like
Yeah.
and partying. And I was never like, oh, I'm so like dehydrated and I'm gonna die. Like genuinely impressed with Anaheim, and I hope they do every fan fest there.
I don't think they're going back to Vegas ever again.
Yeah.
I don't
Um,
think they are.
like the only bummer of the Anaheim Convention Center, I think, in my mind, is knowing how much of the US lives east of Denver, like population
Right?
wise, that it is kind of the farthest possible location. Um, but on the bright side, most places will fly to LA. It's like it's very
Yeah.
hard not to find or to find a place that will not fly directly to LAX. It's one of the biggest hubs in the country. Um, and getting to Anaheim isn't, while it might be a little more expensive, it is not a difficult trip. Where I think getting to Vegas is actually a little harder depending on where you're at.
Right.
And it's just miserable. It's just kind of miserable. Um, but I think we spent less on the entire Anaheim trip with FanFest tickets than we spent when we went to Vegas and didn't go to FanFest. I want to say we spent like $700-800 a person when we went to Vegas
Well,
because of the hotels and all that jazz.
if we're just counting hotels and general food costs, if that's what you're considering, then
Yeah.
yeah, probably. Right. I will say we spent more in Vegas because we did a lot more things in Vegas that required money
Yeah.
other than just going to FanFest, right?
That's probably true.
Um, so I will tell you though, there's other things. I will say in Anaheim, if you don't have a car, you're kind of screwed. Like,
that's true. That's true. Uber in California is insanely expensive.
mhm.
But also, I mean, we rented cars for what, like $50?
Mine was, so I got the insurance. So I doubled. So it was only for a day. So I think mine was like, because I got the insurance and everything. Because I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna mess around with it. Um, yeah, I think it was about like $90. It wasn't bad just for one day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and
I spent
like an
like
Uber.
70 on the one that I did. So
Yeah, and it was like, if you think about it, because I looked at it like the day before I left, just like, okay, I'm gonna head out around this time, uh, on a specific day. Uh, I think Uber was like almost like $50, just one way
yeah,
trip,
the
right?
Uber from LAX to Anaheim is like $50 minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it just makes sense.
And that's one way.
Yeah.
So like you don't have the option of going like anywhere because I think me and another friend of ours that went with us in Anaheim, right?
Yeah.
We went to the observatory. And then
Yep.
we went to Santa Monica Pier. We went to Santa Monica first, and then we went to the observatory.
Oh, Santa Monica rules.
Yeah. So, but if we were to have done that through an Uber, because we still had our luggage at the time, right? So we would have to go to Anaheim, which is like all the way over there,
Yeah.
right? And then go back to Santa Monica. That's another probably like $50+. And then go to the Griffith Observatory. That's probably like another $50+,
Yep.
right? So it just made sense to just rent a car. And plus, you could have just, we didn't have to like waste time because you have to wait for Ubers. You have to wait. You're at the discretion of the driver,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
So
I think
in
there
this
was a
case,
time
yeah.
where Uber was the convenient thing to do in traveling. And I think specifically in California and LA. And I mean not even just California. I've seen it all over the US now. Like it's not convenient for an entire trip. It might be convenient like under certain circumstances, but like it does not compete cost-wise with renting a car for $50, $60,
Yeah.
and just driving around yourself. But yeah, I think you're right. Anaheim is a little rough if you're like on foot, especially if you're trying to like ball on a budget. But still, I mean, like, I really feel like I think we did the whole trip
It was
like
cheaper.
$500 bucks a person. I want to say.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. It was really good. And we went to Disneyland too. I mean,
We
if we're
went to
not counting that,
Disneyland.
we went to Disneyland for a day. That was pretty fun. We went to Space Mountain. Do you want to tell the Space Mountain story?
Oh,
I was getting
dude,
shot.
dude. So they shut down Space Mountain while we were in line. It was like we were like, oh, we've got time to maybe do 2 rides. Let's go to Space Mountain. We go to Space Mountain. We wait in line, and they shut it down. And they're like, yeah, we don't know when it's going to be back up. And I was like, no, man, we're gonna stay in line because people are gonna give up, and then they're gonna turn it back on, and we're gonna be at the front of the line. Because I was like, there's no way this thing's gonna be down longer than like an hour, which I think it was only down like 50 minutes. But
Yeah.
but yeah, like people would leave, and every time someone was like walking back to leave, I'd go, yeah, be a quitter. um, uh, but we got to like, we were like the last like 15, 20 people in line. I think what it was. Lady comes out and goes, guys, I can't have you wait in here. We will give you a free fast pass to get out of line right now and come back later. And so they gave like the 20 of us that were chilling in the line fast passes.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, this feels like victory. This feels like being rewarded.
Oh yeah.
For waiting the extra 20 minutes or whatever it was we waited. And then we went and did Pirates, and we got out, we went back, it was back up. I think we were in line maybe 5 minutes.
I remember the Pirates ride. It was so funny. I was like, I always forget there's a drop in Pirates. It's not a drop, but it's like it's substantial enough where it's a water ride and you can get wet. It like, you know, there's water, you know, splashing at you.
And we were in the front. We got front seats.
And I remember telling Blitz and our other friend, I was like, yeah, I don't think it's it's just a relaxing ride, kind of similar to how, you know, what is it? It's a small world. You're just going in a loop, right?
In a loop.
For
I 85 you.
And for 90% of the, to be fair, for 95% of the from 95% of the ride, it is very much like that. But for that other 5%, we're just go straight down. It goes straight down.
Well, and we're going around, and I'm just sitting there, and you just turn to us and go, "Oh, sorry, I forgot about this part." Not saying what this part was, just went, "Oh, sorry, I forgot about this part." I kid you not. 2 seconds later, down, and we're like, "What the crap?" Also, we got to see if we can find the picture from Space Mountain.
I have it. I have
Good.
it. Yeah.
We'll show it right here. But Space Mountain 2 was a come to Jesus moment for me in realizing kind of how old I am. As well as our other friend, and we're riding around, and it's doing that thing where it flips you around, and I'm having fun. But all the turns on the ride are right turns. And then at the very end, it turns left or vice versa of the two. And like, it's so jarring. And then it shoots you down the final tunnel and takes that picture. And in that picture, I'm just like, oh, what is going on? And you were in the back, clearly like 6 years younger than me. Like, peace signs. I knew the picture was coming. Like that is the difference 6 years is going to make on you guys. You're going to see this picture and go late 20s, early 30s. Dang.
That's yeah, so Disneyland was fun. Fanfest was actually a really good experience. As a preference, you know, we're going to say this right now. We did not expect to attend all the panels that were going to be happening at Fanfest. But we had our other group of friends there. They were like, yeah, let's kind of check it out. I was like, we want to actually go to all the panels. So like, okay, maybe we'll check out 1 or 2 more extra than we were planning to. We ended up just staying the whole time in FanFest. We didn't even go. We were planning to go to Little Tokyo, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
but we were like,
we had this plan that like we'd be there for like day 1 for like the keynote, check out a couple things, and then day 2 we'd basically bounce and come back for the concert. And we ended up spending all of day 1 and day 2 there. the little activities were fun. And I want to say we did maybe like 50% of the photo opportunities because the lines for a bunch of them were really long.
Oh, we didn't do the Graha Teal one because
Yeah.
it was too long. Everybody was going to that one. It was too long, and
Yeah,
they
and that
capped
was
it every single time.
yeah, we didn't get to do that one. There were a few of the activities like we didn't do the dancing green activity. That one had a huge line the whole time. There was some challenge from like wasn't Secret Labs, but one of the we're like, oh hey, log in the game, do this little challenge. And I don't think they were given shirts. I didn't see like a battle challenge anywhere like they had in
No,
past
there was no
years.
battle challenge. No.
But like all around, like I just felt like there was more stuff to do than there was time to do. And in my mind, that is a best case scenario. Cause like I heard about Vegas and people were like, there was one room that had like 2 photo opportunities and they sucked. And
Right.
like,
Yeah, it was. I want to say we didn't even do the shooting one. There was a shooting range, if you remember.
yeah, there was a shooting
Like,
range.
and not like a shooting range, but it was like one of those arcadey kind of shooting ranges
Like you
where
spray the water to make the thing run across.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do the Crystalline Conflict thing that they had there, but we did
No.
watch the Crystalline Conflict finals, which ruled. Watching that live was awesome.
I will remember you had doubts about it. I had doubts about it too. I'm like, oh, who cares about the Crystalline Conflict? It was hype.
It felt like being at an actual esports event. The announcers did a really good job. I think it also helped that like you and one of our other friends like knows Crystalline Conflict and knows PvP well enough that like we could actually talk about what was happening on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Which like as a longtime PvP fan in Final Fantasy 14, I've never had friends who were interested in it. So it was all like, oh no, this is like cool to like have this experience with my FF14 friends who actually like want to talk about it and want to. But you're right, it was so hype.
Now we're gonna talk about the things that I think they could have done better. And the elephant in the room is the merch line. I think merch, if you are going to a fan fest at any specific year, from here on out, and even beforehand, people will have said this beforehand, but I never listened until we actually went to FanFest. Pre-order your merch beforehand.
Yes.
And get that stuff beforehand mailed to you, because trying to get merch was kind of a nightmare.
I'm gonna let you talk all about it because you actually went through it. You did the line, you did the registering.
So it was the night. It was the first night. It was the end of day 1 during the Keiko concert. And I looked because we were sitting in the overflow section for the piano concert that day.
Which props for them for having an overflow section. That was
huge
was actually
props.
really nice.
And I saw these people on their phone signing up, and it had the option for like to sign up for a merch line like after the event ended, right? And I was like, oh, they're doing something, and I want in on that, right?
Yeah.
So I immediately looked, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the same exact thing. And I was like, listen, if they cancel on us, I'm gonna show them the thing, and I'm like, hey, can you do something for us? And if they say no, it's literally the worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
Right. But I signed up for it. And then I let our other friend know. I was like, hey, I don't know. It's like I signed it up, and maybe we might get in, maybe we won't. If we do, then we do.
Yeah.
I think they canceled it right before I went to sleep that night. And then I woke up, and then I got a confirmation of an 11 o'clock appointment.
Yeah, you've been rescheduled, right?
I've been rescheduled. And so we got in. But I will tell you, a lot of people did not get the opportunity to actually get into the merch line.
Yep.
Later on, they did sell the remaining stuff online, so it wasn't kind of like that big of a deal. Well, depending on who you are, this might have been a big deal, or might have not been a big deal. But yeah, I think they could have done merch better. There's definitely ways that they could have done that better, such as even taking pre-orders online and then just having, hey, you can pick it up at the convention if you want to, right?
Yeah.
Um, that
Well,
probably would have saved them a lot of
and
hassle.
it was, I think the other thing is like you had to schedule your spot through the app online. Like everything had to be scheduled. And the times that they were opening, like to get your schedule, were so inconvenient. Like they opened up slots during the keynote, they opened them up during the piano concert. Like it was all like, no, you guys should be opening this when nothing major is going on and people can actually hop in and aren't like
Hmm.
preoccupied with something. Um, but yeah, I agree with you. I think merch was probably the number one thing that could have been done better.
Better.
I
Hmm.
think they had enough merch for like what people wanted. I don't remember seeing a lot of stuff like get marked as sold out. Um,
Oh, there was stuff that was sold out when we went,
oh, was
but
there?
they did put limits. You can only order, I think, like 3 shirts. Even 3 shirts is like a lot,
Yeah.
right? You can order like 3 shirts, 3 sweatshirts, and that was pretty much it.
But yeah, like they
Um,
did stuff to prevent scalping, which was
yeah,
nice. Um, but yeah, it was just the actual getting the opportunity to buy merch um was weird in the way it was all handled.
yeah,
Um,
and it was all handled through not. It wasn't their app. It was the whatever they partnered with for the event coordination and stuff like that. They had their, an app for that, and I mean, it worked. It did what it needed to do, right?
yeah.
So we going back to the good things, we met Jason Charles Miller, the singer for some of the Final Fantasy 14 songs. So that was pretty cool.
So
Um,
that's one of those things that like I don't really know how they would do that better. Because the meet and greets were all handled by lottery. And then in like the second day, they like opened up like a hey, if you just come get in line, we have extra meet and greet slots. And it's like, I wish that that would have been like blasted through the app for people to know. Cause I feel like it was, we just stumbled upon the fact that there were extra meet and greets.
no, it was blasted through the app,
Oh, was it?
but yeah, but it depends on how often you look at your phone, right?
Yeah.
So if it's like so apparently what happened was that some of the people that were there, like I think Yoshida and Soken and Foxconn were the three that were the extra time people, right?
Yeah.
Even I think they alternated. I think Keiko was there as well for the extra time people. Um, I think it was one of those things where they figured it out. It's like, yeah, we let's make our fans happy, kind of type of thing. We're just gonna
Yeah.
do it. Um, and I thought it was really nice. I think there is an opportunity for. I think a lot of the complaints that I've heard is the scheduling of things in order to meet people and to get merch was the biggest complaints overall,
Yeah.
right?
And
Not
that
to say
was
that what the people that we met, they were fantastic. Like,
exactly
uh,
like that was
yeah,
a great experience. And I mean, you handled like the scheduling of that. So like I didn't
right.
experience it firsthand. Like shout out to you. You made FanFest very like
Oh, so
just
easy.
show
Yeah.
up and have a good time for me.
Hmm.
Like you handled our hotels, you handled getting the tickets, and I will be forever grateful for you putting everything together. Um, but yeah, with like the meet and greet, like, and I think the thing about it was like we had our scheduled time and stuff, but like I felt like there wasn't really information about like what we were allowed to do at the meet and greet, like how much time we had to actually sit and talk. And like I think like a lot of people like felt very naturally rushed through it.
Hmm.
Like and like truthfully, I look back at it and I'm like, oh, we probably could have sat there and talked with him for 5 minutes. And I think we
Hmm.
talked to him for 60 seconds, grabbed a picture, and then
Well,
bounced.
I feel like it's also a thing where there's other people online too, and we wanted to be respectful,
And that's
right?
the
It
thing,
was
like there wasn't a communicated expectation of like
Hmm.
how long we really had, how many people were getting in per hour. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
it was like, people didn't take up all the time, so they were able to turn around and open more slots. Was kind of
Right.
like
Hmm.
what happened, and it was all like, oh, like if it just would have been like, oh yeah, you're coming at this hour, you have 5 minutes. Like I think that was um also they did the thing where they were all like, hey, you don't know who you're meeting till we like give you your slot. Which
Which, you
I'm
know
like
what?
fine with the randomization of it,
Yeah.
but like, and correct me if I'm wrong in this, but like I feel like it didn't even tell us who was up for being met before we
No.
signed up for the slot. We just signed up for a
Mm-mm.
slot. And it was like they could have done a list and just been like, hey, you'll meet one of these 10 people.
I think
Um,
I mean, I think you'll it is pretty obvious who you'll meet, but then you'll have some other people where like I don't know who this person is, especially if you're like, um, if you don't know any of the music stuff or like who's singing,
yeah.
right? You're like you don't know who Mr. Miller is over here, right? What we did, right? You wouldn't know who Keiko is if you didn't listen to all the piano stuff. So it's like
Yep.
it really depends. But that I don't think there was anything wrong in that decision to randomize it, right? But I
But
do agree
yeah.
with like it's like you can meet these group of people and then that way you can learn more about them, right? So I
Well,
think yeah.
and the thing I'll say on this is like, no, we're having to nitpick to
Right.
truly like say things we disliked about FanFest. Like at the end of the day, this was like a 9.5 out of 10 event. Like
Mhm.
there things that could be improved, yes, but like I mean, both the concerts were incredible. I thought the keynote was really good. Um in like even compared to like past FanFests, they gave us so much information.
Yeah.
They really said like, no, we're gonna share more than we've ever shared. The panels were interesting. Like I remember seeing people online being like, oh, why are they doing like this weird Iron Mouse concert after the panel with Koji? I was like, well, it was a panel all about the music. There's a huge, as much as there's people in the fan base who don't get Iron Mouse, there's a huge part of the fan base that love Iron Mouse. Like,
It's just subset. If you are playing Final Fantasy 14, you probably have heard of her, right?
yeah.
It's kind of one of those things.
And
Yeah.
and the thing about it is like I feel like what it demonstrated though is that they do know their community. Like this didn't feel like a very like what's the word I'm trying to it didn't feel like this was like a PR sanitized like just get out random stuff, announce the new game event. Like this was like no, we like have paid attention to what you did and didn't like about Dawn Trail. We have paid attention to like what the community like wants to see, wants to hear. Um we brought in outside creators and influencers like with the Christian conflict, it was the guy who runs the Revival Wings
Restore.
Discord
Yeah.
and the World First races. Like,
Hmm.
and those are people who do awesome stuff for the community in a non-official way for Final Fantasy. Got brought in to do something cool in an official way. And it's like that was really cool to see them reach out to the community and get people like Iron Mouse, get people like these hosts and make them part of it in a
Yeah.
way that they've never done before for FanFest.
I don't think
Um,
I don't think this I could be wrong, but I think this is the first year they actually had a badge that was literally said media on it.
yeah,
Like so they made it a huge deal. I mean I don't want to say they had to, but I feel like the pressure was definitely on
well,
after last FanFest and from this previous expansion just as a whole, right?
and the CEO of Square Enix came and talked at the end of the keynote, and he told a story about Yoshi P going into his office and saying, "Here is my vision for Final Fantasy 14." here's what it's going to take. And he didn't give numbers, but there was an implication that Yoshi P needed more people, he needed more money. He needed to be able to put on an event like the Fanfest we went to. And if the Fanfest plus what the CEO said is any indication of him getting a yes on that, like, I feel like the future's bright for Final Fantasy 14.
I will tell you though, just from that, because I watched Preach Gaming, if you don't know.
Yeah.
They do a podcast with Jesse Cox and the Grinding Gear Boys. They were talking about the same topic. And he brought up a very good point, which I totally didn't realize at the time. But usually when that happens, there's usually like a contract thing that goes on, which most likely probably happened. It was like, okay, if you want this, you're gonna have to. It's, you know, the what is it? Wolverine, Hugh Jackman meme in Deadpool, where it was like till you're 90 kind of type of thing. This was absolutely, he's like, we'll give you the money, but you're working here till you're 90 type of thing.
Like Yoshi's locked in. No, I think that's absolutely accurate, knowing how things go over there. Which, like, you know, we've definitely seen interesting stuff in the background of Square Enix over the last 2 years. One thing that was very interesting was that Yoshi P got promoted to like this board position. And then there was like lots of speculation about this, but like very quietly his title reverted. And there were a lot of people who were all like, oh man, this shows that like Final Fantasy 16 failed and like Dawn Trail failed, when like by the numbers it didn't. But I think that was more of Yoshi P being like, hey, I actually really would like to just keep working on Final Fantasy 14. And
Right.
if I can go back to just being the director of Creative Studio 3, that'd be really cool. Like, I think that was Yoshi P actively making a decision. And so, like, if they told him he's got to work another 20 years on 14 or in the NMBR division, I think he was probably stoked to do that. But I mean, that's a whole other topic, kind of things that have been going on with Square Enix.
I will say we will probably talk about it in the next episode, because by the time we probably film it, the Germany Fan Fest would have happened, and then 5.5 would have happened.
What's 5.5?
7.55. So Dawn Trail in its complete story would have been done, so we could talk about it then. We could talk about Dawn Trail as a whole, where we see it going forward.
I wasn't about to go into Dawn Trail. I was about to go into like the inner workings of Square Enix.
Oh, well, we could talk about that then. We could talk about it at a later point. But yeah,
yeah,
because that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah, it really is. But it's kind of indicative of changing things in the gaming landscape as a whole, which I think was really kind of a lot of what we were going to talk about tonight was kind of how the gaming landscape has evolved over the last 7 months.
God, we're so good at the segue thing.
I know. We're pros. We're pros at this point, but like, I think Square Enix is, and there's a lot going on there, but like, I think one of the bigger things is a very clear shift to multi-platform. Like, if we talk about like the recent Nintendo Direct, the Nintendo Direct announced a new Final Fantasy and that Kingdom Hearts 4 was going to be on the Switch 2 day one. And like, historically, those are, even if they weren't Sony exclusives, those were getting announced at Sony. Like, there's definitely been like damage to that partnership, in my opinion. But I think kind of we're seeing a lot of things turn multi-platform that historically weren't. But we've also seen like Xbox kind of move back and pull into some exclusivity. And like, I think there's lots of stuff going on in that part of the gaming landscape. There's lots of stuff going on in the pricing world of the gaming landscape. Consoles, we had a huge announcement from Sony about the future of physical media um, in for gaming, which I I think is a bad thing, but also I don't think it's as bad as some people think. Kind of in tandem with the multi-platform stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you also have a lot of this being driven by AI and what is happening. Um, so I mean, I kind of want to just kind of go through one at a time and kind of hear
Okay.
your thoughts on some of the things.
Before
Um,
we talk about Sony though, let's talk about pricing just in general.
well,
The
so
elephant in the room.
I think
Elephant in the
before
room.
we go into pricing, we talk about, or no, let's talk about pricing and talk about AI after and like the drivings of it.
I'll probably interweave anyway. But let's talk about the Steam machine because that was also a very recent thing that just came out.
Yes.
Um, and it was I remember messaging you about it months ago before it was the price was like, hey, listen, I think the price is gonna be $1,200. It
Yep.
ended up being, or I think I don't know
With
what
a
I said.
controller,
Close,
it's like 1120 or 1150. Like it
right?
is.
Uh, yeah, I okay, and I quote, with the Steam machine, that thing is gonna drop at $1,100, and it's gonna be dead on arrival. And it was released without a controller for 1049 or 1050, I believe.
Yep.
That was the cost. And so I was pretty close. But do I think so? I've heard stories. I don't know if you've heard stories about this. Is that it's not, and I truly believe this. I don't think it's entirely Valve's fault. And there's a lot of
Absolutely
reasons
not.
why. There's a lot of reasons why consoles can sell at a loss because they can subsidize that cost off of a lot of the games that are being sold, like Sony, for
The
example.
games, the
Mhm.
subscriptions, things that
Right.
Valve can't do.
Right.
Um,
There is no guarantee when you pick up that Steam machine, someone is not just going to install Windows on that.
so that was something that I saw that I thought was a very interesting take of you don't want them to sell the Steam machine at a loss. Because in the current, like wider, even outside of the gaming industry, uh, businesses are having trouble getting computers right now. This is like an actual
Yeah.
thing. Like a lot of
Hmm.
them have switched to laptops because it's easier to get a laptop than just a dedicated workstation. And if they sold the Steam machine at a loss compared to a regular PC, businesses would have looked at that and said, "Oh, this is cheaper than going and buying a PC. I'm going to spend $800 on this rather than 1,000 on a PC
And then install Windows on it.
and install
Yeah.
Windows on it and run it like a regular computer." And then the future of the Steam machine was going to be at corporations.
Uh
Um,
huh.
and so that was like a really unique problem that like the PlayStation doesn't face. Even though the PlayStation is essentially a computer in a box, it is still slightly walled off in a way that you can't really just throw Windows on a
I
PlayStation.
will say, I will say this though. Um, I was watching Linus talk about this. He made up a very good point. This thing, if you are just using it as a straight up computer, is fantastic. And the closest competitor to this is the Mac Mini.
Oh yeah.
So, if you think about it that way, businesses could have absolutely, some businesses do like, IT shops, they do run just straight Linux, so they could probably make do with it, right? But for this purpose of this conversation, we're treating it as a console, right?
Yeah.
Um, they can't subsidize it because they don't know what you're gonna install. They don't know what operating system. It's not closed, right? It's an open
Yeah.
system. So they don't know what you're gonna do
Well,
with
and
it. I
not to
mean,
mention,
yeah,
even if they did lock it down to Steam, one of the big advantages to PC gaming and Steam is that Steam does not have a subscription. They don't
yeah,
have a PS Plus that you have to subscribe to for the next 5 years of you owning the machine.
yeah. So there's a lot of costs that are hidden from the consumer that you don't think about, right, when you're buying a
Yeah.
console per se. Which,
Well, and I would
yeah.
also, so this is something I saw a lot of people talking about this immediately after getting like the specs on the Steam machine and the price. And they specifically compare it to like PlayStation Plus was one that I saw so often. Um and something that drives me nuts is how I don't think people are actively trying to be disingenuous about this argument of like what PlayStation Plus argues or offers, but I don't see PlayStation gamers talk about it as like what it offers. And I feel like a lot of the people who make content are PC people. And so like they look at like the most base form of PS Plus and go, "Oh yeah, you have to pay $20 a month to play online." And like that's all they think PlayStation Plus is. And it's like, no, like I find value in PlayStation Plus. So I buy it every year at Black Friday. They do a Black Friday sale every year. The whole year costs me 120. Yes, I understand that that is a lot. I'm not saying it isn't, but so realistically we're talking $10 a month. What do I get for that $10 a month? Yes, I get the online playing cloud saves, which people are like, you get that for free. So I don't necessarily want to talk about that. What I do want to talk about is the huge catalog of games. It's like 500 different games that are in their catalog that I can play. And those are rotating games. So sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Sometimes there's something new. Um, but like people go like, oh, Game Pass has so many games, it's better than PlayStation Plus. Both of them have a catalog. Like, is it day one of like brand new PlayStation releases? No. But if you find two games in that catalog a year that you want to play that are $60 games, cool. You just justified your 120. Um, but even on top of the catalog, they give you games every month. Uh, it's 2 to 3 games every month that like aren't rotating in the catalog. If you had PlayStation Plus and you grab those, they're yours as long as your PlayStation Plus subscription is active. I find a game at least once every 3 months that I want to play from that. And so, like, for me, and like, I've had games that I've had for like 3 years, and then I learn something about them and go, oh, let me go back to that game that I didn't realize was pretty cool and play it that I just grabbed off PlayStation Plus. Um, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're more in the PC ecosystem. But
Mhm.
Steam isn't giving you 3 free random AAA games or even AA games every month. Are there free games on Steam? Absolutely. I know that that happens from time to time. Um, but like to be like, oh, you're having to pay for things that you're already naturally getting just by switching to Steam, I think is a disingenuous argument when you're talking about PlayStation Plus, Game Pass, any of those things. Like there is a value to them.
I
Um,
think there absolutely is a value to PlayStation Plus, but I will also be the devil's. I'll play the other side of
yeah,
the
no,
coin
play the
here.
other side.
So if I'm a gamer and I don't care about that stuff and I literally just want to play Fortnite, what do I do?
So, well, and that's something that I do need to double check on. I don't think you need a PlayStation Plus subscription to play Fortnite.
Oh, let's take Fortnite as an example. Like
But
I'm sure there's other,
but yeah,
yeah.
no, I think for like those biggest games, but yeah, if you are someone who just cares about that, my recommendation is get it at Black Friday on the lowest tier possible. It's $60, $5 a month. Um, when you math it out. Uh, and even on that lowest tier, you're still getting those free games. Uh,
Hmm.
if you have that PlayStation for 10 years at $60 a year for 10 years, um, and let's, for devil's advocate's sake, you're buying the PlayStation when it came out. So it was $400, $500 or whatever. Lifetime cost you're at $1,100 on this thing.
Right.
You're still at the price that the Steam machine is asking you for better performance than the Steam machine.
I will.
Not
Okay,
necessarily
now
better
this is
performance than a PC in general.
right. Well, because we're just comparing the Steam, mind you, we're comparing the Steam machine to a PlayStation. We're
Yeah.
just
In this argument.
in this argument. I will also there's if I was to go recommend someone, I probably wouldn't recommend anybody the Steam machine. I'm gonna be honest with you.
And that's
Like,
the thing, like,
it's a very hard recommendation to make. I would just say just get a PlayStation. Just and we were talking about this earlier. If you want a PlayStation, just get it used too. There's a bunch of them.
so, and that's the other thing. We talk about getting a release and price jumps and stuff. I have been to multiple like retro game stores in the last like month. Every single one of them had PlayStation 5s on their shelves. Yes, I understand it's used. And there's going to be somebody in the comments that's like, oh, you're running a risk when buying used instead of buying new. Most of these places are going to give you like a 90-day warranty at minimum. If you can't figure out that there was something wrong with that PlayStation in 90 days, you weren't going to find it out in 91 days or a year or whatever, in my opinion. Once again, there's going to be someone in the comments who's like, I bought something and it crapped out on me in 6 months and you're wrong. But like, they're $400. You can find a used PS5 for $400, which should be cheaper than that. Truthfully, with where costs and stuff are, like, you should be lower than what they initially came out at, in my opinion. But you can get one for $400, is what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to go buy brand new. There's a very healthy used market for consoles right now. For Switch 2s, for PS5s, for Xbox X's or whatever they're called.
The series, whatever, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Xbox naming convention confuses the hell out of me. Like, I really wish, like, even up to like Xbox and Xbox 360, if they just would have gone Xbox 720, Xbox 1080, whatever, like, I could have handled that.
They went from Xbox 360 to Xbox One. And I remember the discourse for this. God, it was in 2012, I want to say,
Yeah.
right? 2012, 2013. Everyone was like, what? Everyone was like, what are you doing? Like, the collective what in the crowd.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But yeah, now we're at like the One X and the One XS.
Series S. Yeah, Series.
Like,
yeah.
It's too much. It's too much.
I will say, I will put this into your head right now. When we're talking about the future of these consoles, and we talked about this before, and a previous prediction that I had was that these consoles would eventually go into the cloud, and it would just be an ecosystem that you're investing into, which isn't entirely incorrect of my thinking, because I still think that's their approach, is their ecosystem. It is very much the same thing that
and Xbox was trying to push that for a while, that everything's an Xbox.
And I still think they're trying to push that. I think they're making it more of a Microsoft thing and less of an Xbox thing now, right?
Well, so I'm gonna pause you there because I'm not super in tune with Xbox. So you may know more than me, but the impression I've gotten in the last couple months is that the new CEO has come in and been like, hey, all that stuff y'all hated, trashing it. Everything's an Xbox, not anymore. Project Helix, a new console is coming. Like, what?
There will still be consoles, but like, for example, there's an exclusive that was, or like any of Xbox exclusives that are coming out, right? Gears of War is a good example. That's still coming out on PC. That's regardless, because they have an Xbox store on PC.
Gotcha.
Right? So it doesn't matter if, at least for the foreseeable future, this might change, right?
There is no true console exclusive to Xbox.
There is no true console exclusive. If you own a Windows PC and you can run it, you technically have an Xbox, because that's just the way it's a Microsoft ecosystem. It's not just strictly Xbox anymore. I think that is the strategy. I think that has been the strategy, their attempt to do that strategy for the longest time. I think they saw the writing on the wall there.
The Xbox store and Steam are not the same thing. So like, you could buy a Steam machine, and that does not mean you have access to every Xbox title. unless it comes to Steam.
Yes, but most likely it always does come out on Steam too.
Yeah.
So,
because that'll
there's
be an interesting thing to see if Gears of War came to PC, but it was locked behind the Microsoft Store, and
you
not
might
on
get a
Steam.
kick. You might get a kick out of this. I think whether or not this is a valid story or not, I forgot who said it. Right, so I might just be speaking misinformation here. So it's very possible that I might be speaking misinformation.
Preach your misinformation.
There was I forgot who it was. There was a take that someone did, was that when the new Xbox CEO, stepped into their current role, right? Before we were having a multi-platform approach with Xbox, right? So like Halo was going on PlayStation, Gears of War was going on PlayStation. All of a sudden, around Summer Games Fest, which is around the time that she stepped into that role, right? You start seeing that pull away from certain titles, like Gears of War. I think was an example. It was originally going to come out on PlayStation. Then they pulled it back. There was a rumor going on that they couldn't do that for Halo because the contract, the negotiation for that, where it's like if you want out of this, it would cost too much for what they were asking, right?
Yeah, like it was already done.
Yeah. So, but if you renege that, it would have costed a lot of money, right? So they probably would have. But I do see what they're, and then PlayStation isn't, exactly innocent of this either. Right?
For sure.
They've recently said all single player exclusives, depending on how you define that, which is, it's pretty straightforward.
God of War,
but
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. They're not going to release that on PC anymore, right?
Yep.
So I feel like there was a lot of those. The console wars is more. I hate that term nowadays, but it is still a thing, but it has evolved into an ecosystem war. Yeah. Very similar to how, and I compare a lot about this, compared to a lot about how the Google ecosystem is with Android versus the Apple ecosystem is with iOS, right? You are starting to get the two, but it's not a two-man race at this point in the console wars. It is very much a multi-man race.
Yeah,
there's
4 or 5 big players.
Because there's people are gonna hate me for this. Epic is a good example of this, right? They have their Epic store, and they can decide whether or not to stop releasing on Steam. I know at one point they did, but they're not doing that anymore. Yeah. But it is very much now no longer a strictly, hey, this is an Xbox game, this is a PlayStation game, and those will still exist because those companies still publish those games, right? But now you're going to see more of the distinction of where people say, hey, this is a Square Enix game, instead of this is a Sony game that was a Final Fantasy Fantasy that was a Sony game, right?
Well, so I think that kind of what you're bringing up is something I wanted to talk about. So I don't want to bridge fully into this topic yet, but the death of physical media announced by PlayStation. And one thing that I have seen people keep saying is that there will no longer be competition with PlayStation games. Like, you have to buy them from the Sony store. And that is false for a number of reasons. One of them being exactly what you're talking about with like Epic existing as a store and Steam existing as a store. Like with Square Enix, for example, shifting to multi-platform, if you're buying a Square Enix game on PlayStation is still incentivized to put that game on sale so PlayStation can earn its cut of that sale, compared to you buying it on PC. or on Xbox or on Nintendo. Like all of these storefronts make money at point of sale with a third party game. And while exclusives are important and exclusives matter, um I would say about 10% of the games that I've bought on my PlayStation are exclusive, and the other 90 are from third party publishers. And I would assume that is true of most people's libraries. Like if you've bought stuff on PC, I don't even think 10% of the games on Steam are published by Valve, like, or published by Epic on the Epic store. Like, um, multi-platform is keeping that competition alive, even if there aren't physical sales. And then on top of that, uh, in Sony's statement, they said that like retailers will no longer be selling physical games, but just like Nintendo sells their game key cards or their codes to a store, you'll be able to go into a store and buy like a code for a Sony game, according to their press release. Like,
Right.
unless I'm misunderstanding that on the Sony blog, like it will not be that the only way to purchase things is through the PlayStation Store. There will just no longer be a disc.
I want to preface this. We are just talking about the purchase of the video game. We are not. Blitz is not talking about, because I have an idea of what he's getting at. We are not talking about Sony possibly taking away that game from you, or Xbox taking that game away from you. So we're talking about the actual purchase of the game itself, and we're not talking about if it's gonna be just a monopoly on just Sony trying to sell it. There will obviously be that. We're not talking about the advantages of having a disc, right?
Yeah, we're not talking about licensing. I'm talking purely about like the idea of, oh, Sony will be able to sell a game at $70 in perpetuity because the only place you can ever buy it is the PlayStation Store. Like, retailers will still exist, and when a retailer buys 10,000 codes from Sony and they're not selling fast enough, that retailer will still be incentivized to say, hey, we're going to sell these codes at $40 rather than $70 to move inventory. Like, that is now the reselling market of those codes is no longer going to be a thing. I understand that's going to be like, once you download a code on a console, you can't ever resell that game. That is definitely a loss with the death of physical. Like, there are definitely losses. And I think there are fears to it. But the one piece that I'm talking about currently is, I think multi-platform games are really going to keep that competition alive. In terms of when you purchase a game. And, we talk about licensing and like the idea of Sony being like, oh, we're going to pull these licenses from the PlayStation Store of like whatever third party game. They're incentivized to hold on to those because Xbox is still selling them and Nintendo's still selling them. And they're incentivized to keep those licenses renewing because they don't want to see you leave for another platform. So other platforms existing, the existence of Xbox, the existence of Nintendo, the existence of Steam, keep that competition alive. And a lot of the things that we like about Steam or that we like about Xbox will actually go away if PlayStation disappears. Like, as much as people are all like, oh, PlayStation's signing their own death warrant, I'm never going to support them again. If PlayStation went up under tonight, a lot of the reason for Xbox to be better, a lot of the reason for Steam to be better, a lot of the reason for Nintendo to try and be better disappears if we lose Sony as a competitor in the market. Do I think it's a smart decision to get rid of physical altogether? No. But I think this idea that like suddenly Sony's going to turn into this monopoly and that like there's going to be
they will only be the ones selling PlayStation games, right?
Yeah,
That's
like,
pretty much yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that is a false narrative. and that it's jumping to a conclusion that is not proven at the moment.
Right. And you know what? I mentioned this before we started the podcast. I think Sony could have sat on that for another year or two.
I
that
think they could have
announcement.
as well. The timing of a lot of the announcements were interesting because they kind of ripped off several band-aids at once. I think because there were 3 big announcements from Sony all at the same time. One was movies that you purchased. There was like 550 movie titles that they ripped off of their digital platform and actually took from people. And that is one that, in my opinion, is like there is no justification that I can give you to be like, hey, this makes sense. Like, I know why it happened. I still think it was a shitty thing to do.
Right.
And I think, and we talked about this in our episode of with
Live service
the
games,
Don't
right?
Kill Games. Like,
Yeah.
I think rather than us holding on to physical and being like, oh, this is the way, I think we should be trying to establish better protections for digital ownership. I will die on this hill. And I think the Stop Killing Games movement is working to do that in Europe. And they have made progress since we talked about it. I saw a video about them in actual hearings recently with lawmakers talking about that movement. And so I'm interested to see where that goes. But so they announced that. And the laws around movie licenses and the laws around video game licenses are very different. And there's discussion of enforcement and stuff of licensing agreements. Because technically, most people don't know this. When you've bought a physical disc since 1996, you have been buying a license for that game. You have technically not owned the game. You have owned a license since 1996. So that's the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, the Xbox 360. But because you had the physical disc, functionally, you had ownership. And there is no precedent for someone coming in your home that is the government and taking your physical discs away from you. There's lots of dystopian novels about it. And, you know, in my opinion, if we hit the point where they're taking it off of digital stores because the government likes it, I do think they will be marching into your home and taking your discs if they don't like it. But that's a whole separate discussion. Go watch V for Vendetta and see how they have like secret rooms to hide books. But like, I do see a world where, no, if you have fears about them taking it away digitally, those exact same fears should exist about them taking it physically. But with trying to get back to the point, I just tangented really hard. With licenses for movies versus games, the licenses are very different. And there is not a ton of precedent for games being taken back. Some of the few precedents there is have come from Sony. I recognize that Concord happened and then unhappened. And that was a really wild thing to see. And that kind of talks about live service games and stuff like that. But like the second thing they announced is that the PS3 and PS Vita store is shutting down. But a big thing to note with that PS3 and PS Vita shutdown is they are shutting down the ability to buy a game off of that storefront, which they had pulled back from a while ago. And it's like complicated to do, but you can still buy stuff on that. Most people don't know that. They're shutting that down in certain parts of the country parts of the world later this year. And then the rest in like 2028. But they say in that same press release, if you have already purchased a game, it will still be available for download on that store for the foreseeable future. They haven't put a date on when they're actually going to take that down. And
I think that's what a lot of people fear, right?
Yes.
And I will say this, going on from PS4 forward, there has been a thing where I don't think backward compatibility will be a problem in the future anymore.
Correct. We've talked about this. I'll let you expound on it.
Yeah, so just because of Well, so going from the PS4 onwards, there has been a precedent of like, hey, you can still play your PS4 or PS4 games on PS5. When the PlayStation 6 comes out, it will still be. It's going to be a more unified
Architecture.
architecture one, um, and a unified store. So Nintendo is a very very good example of this, right? They are very notorious for this, where the 3DS has a different store,
Yep.
the Wii was a different store, but now, it's with the Switch. It has become a one. It's basically one store, and all those games now for the foreseeable future. I don't. Maybe that thing might change, where some games that you can download. I know that was a thing for I think PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, where you could only download a game for the PlayStation 3, and that was it,
Yep.
right? Um,
Well, and it
but
comes down to
going,
these machines are computers in a box. Like the PS5
yeah,
is just a
they
more powerful PS4. The PS6 will be a more
right.
powerful PS5.
So I think there is, but I do understand the fear of them taking away a game, and I completely would. While it would be evil, I could totally see a rationale of them saying no. We are not going to, like, a PlayStation 6 game. Like, let's say you buy Kingdom Hearts for the 50th time again. Um, I could see a rationale where they're like, hey, we're going to re-release this game and you can only play it on the PlayStation 6. Um, that's the way you can play it on the PlayStation 6. That's the only way, right?
Yeah.
Uh, while
I
scummy,
don't think it would be good.
I don't think it would be good, but I can see why a company would do that. I can see why a lot of people are afraid of the losing the ability just to download the games just in
Yeah.
general. And I think that's the
Well,
whole kind of gist behind physical media, is that you own every single thing and then you can download, you have that disc, which discs nowadays, by the way, are most, if not the majority of them, are just key cards nowadays anyway, and you just download the majority of it off the internet,
and some
right?
of them are like that, some of them aren't. That is something that there's also kind of a myth around that, is that the majority are that way. And it really depends on how big the game is, truthfully. Like a lot of AAA titles are like that just because the game is bigger than what can fit on a single Blu-ray disc. But like Expedition 33, for example, I think was like 30 gigabytes or something like that. And that disc
Yeah.
does contain that game
Yeah.
in its first iteration.
GTA 6 will not have a disc, by the way. I don't know if you read that
Yeah,
release.
GTA 6 is a download only, which is one of those things that, like, I think gives credence to what I'm saying of you'll still be able to walk into a retailer and buy a case or something for GTA 6 on PS6 in 2028 and it be a download code in a box. There won't be a disc to it. And maybe the shapes of the boxes will change. Maybe they'll start being this big. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing with not being able to download your games, and this is where some things, I feel like there's a weird double standard with digital media and physical media, because we have this extra expectation on digital media that, like, hey, if I download the game and delete it, Sony has to maintain that space in perpetuity for me to go download that game. Whereas, like, with a physical disc, the onus of, like, storage and taking care of that disc is on you. You know? Like, if a GameStop shut down and said, hey, we're not selling games anymore, you wouldn't be like, oh, well, how am I going to come to GameStop and pick up my game that you're storing for me in the future? No, they don't do that. And I think this is an interesting point in the PS4, PS5 era, because it's a little harder to do this on PS3, but you can. With a PS4, I can plug a hard drive into the back of my PS4 or my PS5 and put format as storage. There's a button in the settings, and I can download all of my games onto hard drives and have them forever. I say forever. I know hard drives fail. So do physical discs. Um, I would actually argue that physical discs fail faster than hard drives because people don't treat them well. But we all had a PS1 game that skipped. But you know, that is an additional cost that we would have to take on to store them. And so a lot of people choose not to do that. We rely on these companies to maintain servers forever for us to download these games. To which Sony's point, they are continuing to leave up the PS3 servers for you to download those games, even though they aren't selling them still. They are going to still hold on to your games in perpetuity. Will that shut down at some point? Yes, probably when the data supports it of, hey, no one is downloading these games anymore. No one's downloading these DLCs or whatever.
I think that's where a lot of people are afraid of, because there are those. I mean, you could probably call PS3 retro at this point.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think.
It's 20 years old.
Yeah. So I think there is that fear because of what protections are in place for digital media.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
Because the people
lack
just
of.
don't know. Lack of. Yeah. Right. Because people just don't know. Right. And I think that's the rationale for a lot of the fear, because there's uncertainty.
Well,
right.
And you know what's interesting about that uncertainty? I saw someone post a video basically saying, you know, Valve has earned our goodwill. Steam has earned our goodwill. And you know what's interesting about it is, like, I can point to like a lot of misinformation that people have given about Sony. Like I said, you know, a lot of people have thought the PS3 store has been shut down for the last 10 years. Which is just false. Like, it's been around for 10 years. Most people don't know it because people have said that it doesn't exist. A lot of people are glossing over the fact that you're still going to be able to download games that you bought on the PS3. They're just saying, oh, they're shutting down the PS3 store, and giving not full stories. And I think what's interesting is we talk about Valve earning that trust, but really, it's only like 4 or 5 times that Sony has made a move that has crumbled the trust in Sony. Like, when you look at Nintendo has shut down more stores than Sony by a large margin, you know? And people are like pointing to Nintendo as the good guy in the current situation because of game key cards, when it's like, no, Nintendo shut down the 3DS store. They shut down the Wii store. The Wii U store, I believe, is shut down. Like, Nintendo is notorious for making separate stores and then shutting them down. And yet we don't talk about them as precedent for why what Sony is doing is bad. Because Sony has maintained the PlayStation store for 20 years. And newsflash, Steam has only been around for 23. Steam has only operated since 2003. So, like, truthfully, Sony is maintaining the same track record as Steam. And Steam delists game for purchase all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There are thousands of games that you can no longer purchase on Steam, but if you purchased them, you can still download them.
It's still on your library, yep.
The exact same thing that you can do on the PS3 post 27 when they shut down buying on the PS3 store. And I don't know if there's precedent for Valve ever actually reaching into someone's library and taking a game. That would be something that, like, I would need to check on. But, like, I do know that they've removed games because, like, payment providers have thrown a fit and said, hey, we don't want you to have these games on Valve or on Steam, like, which is a whole separate argument. But what I'm saying is there have been things that Steam has done to bow down to whatever power that be, that has resulted in you not being able to purchase a game from them. Which is what Sony is getting flamed for in that particular announcement with the PS3 store shutting down, is like, oh, we can't buy from the PS3 store anymore. When a lot of the games on the PS3 store are on the PS4 store, or if it's a game that exists on the PS3 store only, it's like an old PS1 game that doesn't exist on PS4, PS5 yet. But like, it's surprisingly rare that the actual small gap of like this is only obtainable on the PS3 store right now. Um, and so I feel like there's false narratives in that one getting shut down, but it got announced at the same time as killing physical media. And so people like rushed to the cajillion like negative narratives around Sony doing all this stuff at once. Um, and I just truthfully don't think it's going to be as bad as people are painting it. I think there are real negatives that should be focused on more. One that I saw was somebody talking about library systems and how libraries will buy games and then you can go and rent isn't the right word, check out a game from the library. And without physical media, that goes away.
Actually, I will argue against that because I've rented ebooks from the library before. So there is
Well,
ways, but not currently, but maybe eventually,
and that's the
right?
thing. It'll be interesting to see what Sony does when, because at the moment you can't really buy game codes for Sony anymore, unless it's a code in a box at a retailer like GTA 6, for example. But like, it's not like Amazon, for example. Amazon, you can go on and buy a digital code for the Switch. Whereas, like right now, if you buy a PlayStation game on Amazon, even if it's a code in a box, you have to wait for that box to ship to you. They won't email you a code. Where for a Switch 2 game, they will. They'll just email you the code. And it'll be interesting to see if when Sony switches to all digital, will they turn around and start going, oh, you can email a code? And will they make special codes that are like temporary licenses?
Or you could
For,
sell a code, right? For
yeah.
example, yeah.
Um,
Um,
because Switch has that with not necessarily with codes, but it was a thing with the Switch 2 that people's Switches were getting bricked if the license existed on multiple Switches at the same time. Because people were downloading the games onto like these cartridges that could hold multiple games. And you would register the code on multiple places, and it would basically brick your Switch 2. And people had to like prove that they had bought the game. Um, and so it'll be interesting to see if there's like a, hey, if I want to sell this code, I have to like delete it from my PlayStation.
right.
And once it's deleted, the code becomes valid again. I doubt that will happen, truthfully. I doubt they have an incentive to keep the secondhand market alive. Um, but I think there's a bit more unknowns, and I think Sony understands how much they are shooting themselves in the foot doing this. And I think maybe they announced it prematurely without showcasing some of the things they're probably going to do in a digital only world, and they should
Right,
have been more clear about that.
because Microsoft just I think there was a news article recently that Microsoft is investigating ways for you to, which is something Sony's eventually going to have to figure out, of converting your physical media into your digital library, like just as is, right?
Yeah.
Because
Which
there's going to
honestly, I think that would be great if I could pop my discs in and download them on and
rip
then
it,
not
yeah, just
have to
rip
put the
it,
disc
yeah,
in anymore. I think that'd be cool.
yeah. I think that is honestly it is. That's kind of one of the reasons why I buy a lot of digital games, because I'm just so used to it, where I don't have to pop in a disc anymore. Where it's just like,
Well, and to people who
yeah,
say that there's no way Sony would ever give you a way to lend your digital games. There are people who say that. Or there are people who are saying, oh, there's no way this will result in games being cheaper. I'm going to point to Nintendo. Because Nintendo right now, if you buy a game digitally, it is cheaper than going and buying it physically. It's $10 cheaper. So there is precedent for a company actually doing it. And I think if games don't get immediately cheaper, it will at least hold the line of them not getting more expensive. We won't see a jump from $70 to $80 for slightly longer. Because of going
I will I
digital
will
only.
I will argue that for third party games though, because I know people had a fit about GTA's price.
That's true.
Uh,
Well, and that's the
so
thing. Third party games, they price themselves their own way. So it is there's I think there's a lot more going on than just the immediate, oh, there's no way we'll see any kind of price saving from this.
I think when it's because of this, there is no longer the existence of a gatekeeper per se, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to game prices, because Sony and Xbox, when it was the Xbox 360 and the PS3 era, there was like it was $50 or $59.99, I think,
Yep.
at the time, right? That was it. You could not do anything more than that, right? Unless it was like a limited editions, but we're just talking about like base games, right?
Yep.
But now the floodgates have kind of opened where, um, with the with Steam being relevant, a lot more relevant than it was back then, back in like 2010, right?
Yeah.
Um, Indie games are being priced whatever they feel like they want to be priced at, and these AAA studios have no, or AAA publishers such as Rockstar or Take Two. It's Take Two.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we can do that now, right? Right.
Yeah,
So it's like,
we can price however the heck we want.
right. So, I think there is that fear because there is no gatekeeper in check for a lot of these prices anymore,
Yeah.
right? Um, and there's a lot of going back to it, and we're just beating a dead horse at this point. Uncertainty, it's natural, right? I think there's a lot to be skeptical about, right? But I'm kind of with you where it's like I don't think it's going to be as bad as people say. It's usually never the worst case scenario, but it's also never the best case scenario. It's
Yeah.
always somewhere in between,
Well,
right?
and I think the message I would give, if you're truly worried about this, I would highly recommend looking at Stop Killing Games if you haven't already. And I would think, if you want the best case scenario to happen, do something to actively work towards that, whether it's boycotting digital games by no longer buying a PlayStation, no longer buying GTA 6, supporting something like Stop Killing Games. If you are apathetic to it, if you're all like, oh, this is something I don't like, but there's nothing I can do about it, that is a false narrative you've built in your head. There's very much so things you can do about it. You cannot support it. You can go support the people who are trying to change it and get laws written to protect digital rights. There's 100% things you can do.
Yeah, I will say this though. I am very surprised Sony was the one that took the first shot. And by the first shot, I mean I'm surprised that a retailer wasn't the first one to say this.
Yeah.
Like a Best Buy or a Walmart or a GameStop. Oh, GameStop would never do that, first of all. For GameStop would never, because that's their whole business. But I'm surprised because I remember at one point Best Buy took away DVDs and Blu-rays. Do you remember that?
I do.
Like 8 years ago now at this point.
Yeah, I remember before
I-
they did it, going and getting a bunch of Ghibli Blu-rays for like $3 a piece. It's awesome.
Right. But they still exist, right? You can still get them. But I'm very surprised that a retailer didn't do this. But all in all, I think Sony ripped off a lot of band-aids, like you said. And they are not the most liked company at this moment.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think they should have I with rising costs and everything, this was absolutely not the right time to do it at all.
And with everything I'm saying, I think I don't want people to think that I'm defending Sony's decision. I'm not here to defend Sony's decision. I am here to assuage your fears that it's not going to be as bad as you think it is. Or as bad as you're seeing people say it is. Once again, I look towards Nintendo. Like, Nintendo has game sharing as a thing that allows you to lend your digital copy to someone, and you can't play it while they're borrowing. Like it's a really weird feature that's kind of experimental.
Steam does the same thing too.
Steam does that as well. Like Steam has family plans. Um, One thing I've loved about digital games is I do that on PlayStation. My PlayStation is, we call it marrying a PlayStation. Me and my brother have our PlayStations married, and it's just a setting you turn on where you say, hey, any profile on this PlayStation can play games for my account. And so, like, if my brother buys Resident Evil 9, I have Resident Evil 9 now. If I buy this random game, my brother has that game now. Um, and we basically haven't paid full price for a game realistically in years, because we're always splitting the cost. We basically get 50% off at release. Um, and so there are some advantages to the digital only world, not just disadvantages. And I don't think it is the end of gaming as we know it, because physical gaming is going to go away. I don't think you won't be able to play games anymore unless you are just on this weird staunch stance that you're just never going to buy anything if it only exists in a digital format.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're just going to be buying your games on the Switch, or you're going to be buying them on an Xbox, unless Xbox turns around and announces they're killing it with with Sony.
But and I will say that there's a lot of arguments for physical games because of the fact that a lot of places still do not have reliable internet connections out there in the
Yes.
world. And that is a very good point, right? Um,
So
so
what I see rise with the death of physical, I would not be surprised if, whether it's your local library or it's just like an internet cafe, because there are internet cafes starting to pop up in the US, which was something I didn't realize. I know they were huge in Asia. Um, but I see a space where they go, hey, bring your Xbox here, plug it in. You can download your games. I know you can't afford internet, but if you have a membership to this place, we will let you plug your machine in
that's
and
GameStop's new
download
business
stuff.
model.
Yeah, if you're a Power Up member at GameStop, you can show up and download your games. Like that's, I do see a rise in that kind of the internet as a commodity, if that makes
Right.
sense. But yeah, there's definitely bad things that are happening from this. Um, but I think
It's a
there are
lot of
people,
change, right?
it's a lot of change, and there are people making assumptions about how the change is going to occur, and telling you a worst case scenario. Um, and it will not be the worst case scenario. It'll be somewhere in between. I keep saying and we're beating the dead horse. But I think, we've talked about the price of the Steam machine, and there is a real question of, if you're in an all digital environment, and your only reason to buy physical or buy a console was to still get the physical games, are we in a world where it still makes sense to buy a console? We were talking about like the hidden costs, price increases have brought, the PS6 brand new could very likely be an $800 console.
I don't think it's even going to be $800. I'm going to be frank with you. I think it's going to be 4 digits.
You think it's gonna? So I would be very surprised if it's not listed as $99.99 for the mental sake of, we've got to
Of
keep
maintaining
it
the 3 digits. Of maintaining, yeah.
And we all know that's $1,000, but there's lots of science around the mental 99 cents or whatever, and not rounding up to the near dollar. But we kind of talked about it with, like, it's not fully Valve's fault of the price hikes. We've talked about, the increases in the costs of a PlayStation, um, hidden costs, things like that. Uh, and I guess the question is in the next round of consoles, even if they're all digital, without physical, is that enough to make somebody go, well, if I'm going to be digital, I'm going to be digital on PC? Or
I've seen those people. I've seen those comments. I
and
have.
I've
Yeah.
definitely seen those comments. But my question becomes, uh, what does the future of a physical PC look like? And will consoles be really our only chance to own hardware in the future? And what I'm bridging to is AI and how it's affecting um, the cost of all of this, the RAM shortage, the way things are being developed. You talk about things existing in the cloud and cloud processing, and is there this world where our PCs are really weak, but they're getting processed by AI in the cloud and then just kind
Right.
of beamed down to our games? And is it we're not buying a console for the physical game, we're buying the console because we want the physical rendering happening on a machine? Um,
Right.
but I think AI is affecting gaming in a weird way.
Well, it's not just the gaming though. It's everything.
It's everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but we've seen it really. It's funny. I've watched friends who 7 months ago didn't really care about AI and didn't think it was a big deal. And then, like, I explained to them, like, I remember to one of my friends, I said, you realize you're never going to get more glam dresser slots in Final Fantasy 14 because that would require more storage server side and they can't afford to expand storage because of AI. And like that was the thing that made them go, "Oh, well fuck AI." Like, and then they were like, I take back every positive I said about it.
So
Like,
a very apt comparison to this is the housing market in the United States, right? And there are very specific reasons why a price of a house can increase over time, right? But why it is very difficult to buy a house for a lot of people is it because there is a shortage because one, it's a shortage of materials, right? But it's also just a shortage in general, right? Because of there, it's like a lot of downstream effects, and then it finally hits you,
yeah,
right? Um, so it's the same thing with the AI boom. Is that all of a sudden, a lot of these companies, like let's take Nvidia, Intel, AMD, like a lot of these, well, we'll say Nvidia. Um, a lot of these companies were like they saw the advent of AI and they're like, okay, now we need to build data centers, right? And people have opinion on data centers. We're not going to get
we're
into
not
people's
getting into that.
we're not getting into that. But they buy up a bunch of RAM, for example. Graphics cards was a huge thing for a
Yep.
while with cryptocurrency. Um, it has it has dropped down. There's more supply. So I do think eventually they will manufacture more parts, right? Uh, but with political, God, this conversation, you can't talk about this without getting into some form of politics, right?
Well, and I'll prevent you from getting into the form of politics and kind of summarize the thought. I think the main question is, you know, can consoles and PCs remain not prohibitively expensive with what AI is doing to costs?
I
Um,
think, I think, hopefully, yes, but I do think you are going to see an extended lifespan on a lot of things.
yeah. Well, and that's, I think we're in an era where I don't think graphics need to get better, and
Right.
people have been saying that for a couple console generations now. I would not mind if my PS5 was still the best PlayStation for the next 5 more years before the PS6 comes out. Um, I think there's a question of, for years, gaming, people like to talk about gaming as an expensive hobby. But when it comes down to it, per hours played, gaming for years has been the cheapest hobby around. Like, you buy a $60 game and you get 80 hours out of it, like, insanely cheap. Even if you buy a $70 game and you get 20 hours out of it, that's cheaper than going to the movies. That's cheaper than going to golf. That's cheaper than like playing a sport. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was this insanely cheap hobby. And even when consoles got really expensive, like I think the PS6 or the PS3 at 600 was like this crazy thing, and then eventually it got cheaper. But the PS4 was like 400 at launch. The PS5 was like 400 at launch. And like there was still this sense of like, well, gamers were getting older, they were starting to get more money. And like we could justify those purchases. Uh and once again, like trying not to get political, but like with wages not necessarily keeping up with this crazy sudden increase in prices of, oh, a Steam machine is now $1,000. um
Mm-hmm.
which may not seem like a lot to like PC builders, but like in the console space that's a lot. And if the PS6 is $1,000, like I ended up getting a PlayStation Pro at launch for 700, and I felt gross about that, you know. So like if a PS6 comes out and it's in the $1,000 range, like there's gonna have to be something really, really compelling to get me to drop my PS4 Pro or my PS5 Pro for that, you know.
Yeah.
Um
And I think that's the point of all this is that I don't see ultimately prices going down to what they will never go back down to what they originally were.
yeah.
I think you will see a PS6. I legitimately now think I think a PS6 will launch within the next 2 years. Um but I also don't think you have to rush out to buy it because I think we are going to see a lot of consoles, a lot of um GPU driver, NVIDIA, AMD, you're going to see a lot of end of life support extending on further than it
Yeah.
normally does, right?
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that they, hopefully, they know how expensive their stuff is. And this is, I love to bring Apple up into the discussion, but they probably have one of the better business models for this, whether it's good or bad, is that they want to keep you on that ecosystem,
Yep.
right? No matter what. And if you use Apple, for example, they still support the iPhone 11, which was released
7
almost eight
years
years
ago.
ago,
Yeah.
7 years ago. Right? So, and for phones, that's unheard of, right? They supported the 10R or the 10 for like 8 years.
Well,
So,
and you talk about that, the PlayStations have always been supported for 10 years. This is something
right.
that drives me up the wall, is that people assume the new console comes out and the old one shuts down. And with the PS4, they've been like, man, why is the PS4 dragging so long into the PS5 life cycle? Um, and it's that thing you talked about earlier about like the backwards compatibility of it, of like, no, a lot of PS5 games, you just turn down some of the graphics and they'll run on a PS4. Like
Hmm.
that's um and so they're building it to like at minimum the PS5 came out in 2020. At minimum, we know based on the past that the PS5 is going to be fine till 2030. At minimum, that's if they were launching the PS6 today, which would be the normal time frame. Your PS5 will be good till 2030. So if the PS6 doesn't come out for 2 years, you know, and we do see that extended lifespan, your PS5's good till 2032,
I want to even say
realistically.
2035, maybe at
Like,
the most. Yeah.
um, so I, you know,
I will also say this. It is also a very, we are in a consumerist environment,
that's
right?
true.
Where we want the next big thing, right? And I understand that. It is a very much thing. But I think with how things are, and this is a very defeatist attitude, I know. But honestly, I think there is a certain piece of finding, hey, I'm comfortable with what I have, right? Um, but I'm aware of the argument that that is a defeatist attitude, and that should not happen. That it should not be a thing. But I'm also telling gamers you should be comfortable in knowing what you have is pretty darn good. Games, your console is not getting worse. Is that games are getting better,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and
So
that's, you get it's always that thing of like, the Steam machine got announced and they said it was going to be 4K 60. Um,
which I
and
don't agree with them for saying that, by the way.
yeah, well, and there's stuff about that. There's stuff about that. But it's like, the PS5 comes out and games are running at 4K 60 on it. And then 2 years later, the new games are not running at 4K 60, and people go, "Oh, the PS5 was underpowered." And it's like, no, the PS5 is not underpowered. Developers pushed harder. Developers, for some reason, push for, okay, well, let's get the game running at 4K 30 and put as much junk on the screen as we possibly can at all times. Like,
right.
there's this
There isn't.
constant game of cat and mouse if the console tries to be powerful enough, and then they go, oh, well, if you have a console that powerful, we're going to push it to its limits, and we're going to consider
I will
the
say,
limit 4K 30. Like,
right. I will say that the art of optimization is a dying art, unfortunately.
very much so.
Right.
But it was funny to see the Steam machine come out, something that was announced a couple years ago, or not even a couple years ago, maybe a year ago, with certain specs in mind. And the PS5 comes, or the Steam machine comes out, and the first thing everybody tests on it is the new 007 game that came out 3 days ago, the newest game possible. And they go, oh, it's not running at 4K 60. And it's all like, well, but also probably the games that were out last year when this thing was announced probably did run at 4K 60 when they tested it on the machine, like the games that were optimized for it.
It's a moving scale, right? So,
Yeah.
like, for the time when that statement came out, it was probably true. But from onwards, not so much. That's why the art of optimization is unfortunately dying art. But, we here we are, right? I do think eventually this will lead to a lot of developers learning how to optimize better because of the limitation. There's nothing. This is very much a human thing, where when humans are placed with limitations, you'll be very surprised with what is output,
Well,
right?
and you bring that up, and I'm gonna dial back to the PS1 era. There are so many games that older gamers love from the PS1 era that are only the way they are because of those hardware limitations. A notorious one is Silent Hill. The fog effect in Silent Hill was developed because of limitations on the PS1. And when they remade those games, people were all like, whoa, why can I like see so far? And the fog isn't as dense and it's not the same vibe. And like developers will come out and say, oh, well, this was what we always wanted to give you. We just couldn't because of limitations. And people have come back and been like, well, we don't care. We liked the experience that you gave us under limitations. And it'll be interesting to see if those limitations bring back optimization, but also some of the creativity that we
Right.
used to see in certain things. And if it brings us away from like that realism that they've been chasing for ages, and we get back more to like aesthetics and games that look interesting and run well. It
I
might
think
become
you're already seeing that.
a revived art.
Yeah, I think you're already seeing that though, bits and pieces here and there, right? So, but
But yeah, I think all
yeah,
of this is to say, and I joked about it with you that we were going to title this is the golden age of gaming dead, um, because I think as gamers we like to focus on a lot of the doom and gloom, of what's happening in the gaming industry right now, with how we access games. But the fact that we're so upset about losing physical, the fact that we're upset about consoles costing more, the fact that we're upset at the price of the Steam machine, that we're worried about losing this medium, shows that games are still fun, that games are still great, that games are still getting made that we're excited about and that we're excited to play. Um, I think there was a narrative for a long time that there's nothing good to play anymore. You'd see someone posting about that on TikTok every other day. Somebody's like, "Why is there nothing good to play anymore?" And we spent so much time pushing back on that narrative, where it's like, no, people are genuinely excited about gaming. They're excited about the games that are coming out, and we're upset because we want to have access to them. We want to have access to this medium that we love, that is in such a wonderful spot. And there are so many creators making beautiful games, and there are fun games to play, and it's an exciting time to be a gamer because there's so many good games. And
Right.
just because there's bad things happening to the gaming market, whether they be because of AI or because of decisions companies are making and it's getting more expensive, gaming is still fun. And like, there are still great games being made. Uh, and I don't think gaming's best days are behind it. Do I think maybe the costs of gaming's best days are behind us? That is maybe likely. I think gaming is going to be more expensive than it used to be, and that's an unfortunate thing to deal with. But we're upset about it because gaming is still good and gaming is still fun to be a part of. And I think we're still going to be able to enjoy the games we love for many years, even if that's in a digital format, even if that's in a more expensive format. Um, I think gaming's still going to be around for a bit.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever going away per se, right? And we'll always have different definitions of this was that golden age and this was this golden age. But as long as you're having fun, that's the only part that matters, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so
And let me tell you, I've been having a lot of fun playing games lately. Been
yeah.
getting back into 14. Genshin's really popping off. And those are two games that only exist in a digital format. There's no physical way to obtain those. But also Monster Hunter Wilds. That was a game from like a year and a half ago that I finally have sat down to play and has been a lot of fun. I mean, what games have you played recently that you've been having
Um.
fun with?
Oh God, you want to talk? You want me to talk about Forza Horizon 6?
Yes, talk
Real
about
quick.
Forza.
Oh my God, it is literally the best game I've ever played. Okay, that's a lie, but it is. I have never had a racing game, and I'm gonna preface this. I've always liked cars. I've always liked the concept of cars. I could never afford a nice Porsche or anything. So this is my outlet in ways that I'm like, yeah, this is a good way to do it. It's I don't know, a lot of people I've heard a lot of people like this game better than 5, but fundamentally I think I heard it was very similar. But I think the real reason people love 6 is because it's in Japan, so it kind of like
Oh yeah,
boost the interest rate of it. I think you would actually really like it if you played
Forza,
it for
but Japan.
yeah, so it is literally that meme, right? So I'm gonna recommend that game to you. It's actually, I will say, it is the best racing game. I will not be surprised if it gets a nomination this year for game of the year. I don't think it's gonna win game of the year, but I think it will get a nomination at
Man,
least.
that's bold. Let's take 5 minutes to talk about that. Because there's always the meme of like game of the year getting announced by somebody in like February when a game comes out. But like, we're halfway through the year. We haven't really
Hmm.
gotten to like talk because this is the first time we're doing the podcast. At this moment in time, what are like your game of the year nominees? And I'm not saying you have
It's
to have all six. I'm just saying like what are some of your games? You said Forza.
as And as I'm googling what games have come out this year,
That's
because
true. Yeah, let me pull up the list actually, because I'm gonna say a game
um,
that came out last year and get laughed at.
uh, Pragmata came out this year. Um, Resident Evil Requiem came out this year. Oh, Marathon, that's not gonna. Pocopia was this year.
Dude, I could see
Um,
Pocopia getting a nom.
yeah, Pragmata, I already said that one. Forza, let's see, Yoshi's not getting a nomination. I'm sorry. 007. And then yeah, so there's a good 5 games that have already come out, right? Resident Evil,
I think
Pragmata.
Resident Evil 9 definitely gets a nom. I
Oh yeah.
haven't played it yet, but I've heard nothing but people say that it's the best Resident Evil game ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, September, like this is what's coming in September. Uh Fire Emblem's Fortune's Weave, Control Resident, Silent Hill Townfall, Onimusa, Valor Mortis, Hot Wheels, Minecraft Dungeons 2, Trails in the Sky Second, Dynasty Warriors 3 Remastered, The Blood of Dawnwalker, Wolverine. Um, like, we've still got the whole second half of the year.
GTA 6.
GTA 6 is coming. Like,
Was Wolverine this year? I think so. I don't know.
Wolverine is in September. That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's still a bunch left in the tank. Who do I think is the favorite to win, even though I know it's not out yet? It is probably GTA 6, just from listen, it will be an interesting thing to see when GTA 6 comes out and people don't like it.
Dude,
I will
so man, there's going to be so many people who don't like GTA 6.
There's
And
too much hype around it, and
not
I feel
because GTA 6 is bad, but if I
expectations.
know gamers, it's expectations, and it's at the end of the day, nobody hates video games more than gamers. You know, it's that no one hates Final Fantasy more than Final Fantasy fans. There's so much hype around GTA 6. There's going to be people who are playing GTA 6 that have never played a GTA game and to be like, what the hell is this? There's going to be longtime GTA fans that have been playing GTA 5 for 15 years and go, what the hell is this? There's going to be people who love it. There's going to be people who say it's the greatest game of all time. But you're absolutely right. It's going to come out and people are going to hate it for whatever reason. The other game that's going to do that when it finally comes out at some point in time is Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
Like there is and you know, on occasion it happens where something comes out that has so much hype and it's universally praised. But like, you know, I've just seen so many communities that absolutely love something get a hold of the next piece of it and just be like, oh, this is awful. I will say though, this.
I think there is the studios are so guilty of this. There is the expectation of when you release a trailer and then when you actually release the game, right? Because I was thinking of the last time what you mentioned when it met expectations. I think that was Breath of the Wild, honestly, of a big game like that meeting expectations.
Yeah.
I think it was Breath of the Wild. I think that was the last one that I remember.
Well, and Breath of the Wild was one that like blew expectations away.
Yeah, but I want to know like how I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I have to Google this. But what was the lead in time from the first announcement to release compared to GTA 6 or an unreleased Elder Scrolls 6, right?
Yeah. Well, and you know, a game that did that, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh,
you know,
that was the biggest offender.
10 years, and people hated Kingdom Hearts 3. My brother, who is the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan in the world, and like has rebought that series every time it's ever come out, has played every game, understood the story, told me, bro, watch Kingdom Hearts 3 on YouTube. He's like, watch the important story bits on YouTube. And I was all like, really? I was like, you're going to turn around and tell me I don't need to play 3? And he's like, dude, you don't need to play 3. He's like, I'd recommend any other game in the series but 3. And it was wild to see him not be like, oh, this is the greatest game ever made. Because it just didn't live up to the expectations. And obviously, like, there probably were actual problems with it, but you know, I foresee a world where GTA 6 comes out and like maybe somewhere they said you could enter every building, and they're gonna let you enter every building, but you're not gonna be able to go upstairs in every building. Like every building's just gonna have a base level, and people are gonna riot about that.
I think
And be like, we were sold a lie.
the lead in time for Elden Ring wasn't that long either, right? I think it was like maybe a year or two.
No, Elden Ring I think had like 5 or 6 years to actually stew.
Okay, then Elden Ring was the most recent, I believe.
So
I'm sure I'm missing some game in between after that. But
yeah, like I look at a game like Baldur's Gate 3, for example, that I think among Baldur's Gate fans was highly anticipated, but the broad audience that it ended up reaching, most people had no clue what to expect. And there were a lot of longtime Baldur's Gate fans that were really upset with the shift from like a real-time combat to a turn-based combat in Baldur's Gate 3. Like, so I think you're absolutely right. Like GTA 6 is going to come out and we're going to see people who are stoked for it. I've been hearing popping, like random pops for the last 2 hours, and I just realized it's fireworks.
Oh yeah, it's July 3rd.
We're filming this on July 3rd. It's fireworks outside. And I've been like trying to figure out what it was for a couple hours. I should go look outside after this and see if I can see stuff getting lit up. But yeah, it's GTA 6 is going to be divisive. There's going to be people who love it, and there's going to be people ready to just destroy it. And that is what it is. I think that's just kind of the general gaming climate these days. I'll say this to everyone out there listening. If you want to be excited about GTA 6 and have fun with GTA 6 and it comes out and you enjoy it, don't let someone who's not having fun with GTA 6 take that away from you.
Oh, I don't care. I'm gonna play the heck out of it. The problem, I do know people are very miffed about it coming out on consoles first.
Oh, is it coming out on consoles first? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is a console thing first for about like 6 months to a year, I think, and then it'll come out on PC.
So, man, GTA 6 will likely be Game of the Year this year. You know what's just gonna barely miss the cutoff, but come out this year? That's gonna be Game of the Year next year. Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Oh, is that December?
They said 26. They didn't give us a time frame, but I highly think it's going to be Christmas, based on the fact that they haven't given us a date yet.
When's the movie come out? When's the?
I don't know when the Zelda movie comes out. Actually,
2027, April 30th, 2027.
But
okay, so I was about to say, yeah.
I think
gonna do that at the same time.
Ocarina of Time remake is going to be the first remake to win Game of the Year, and I think it's going to be insanely controversial. And that's my bet going into next year. Because I mean, Ocarina of Time is still like the third highest rated game of all time. By like,
it is the highest rated game on Metacritic.
Yeah.
Still, I think.
Like that remake is gonna sell 20 million copies. And it's
a system seller. It is a system seller. That's what it is.
My brother wanted to get a second Nintendo Switch 2 for Dustblood, so like we could play together. Because his his son has one. But he was all like, "Oh well, I can't buy one right now because they're gonna announce that Ocarina of
Oh,
Time Switch 2,
limited
and
edition.
that's the
Yeah.
one he's got to get." And I was like, "That's fair, man. That's fair. Like, I want that limited edition."
There's a Pokemon limited edition Switch OLED right here.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if you can see. Oh, it
it's
probably won't show up on the stream, but yeah, or not the stream, the video.
yeah,
But yeah, I do have. It just happened. I didn't even. I wanted a Switch OLED, but it just kind of just bought it. Right.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm not a huge proponent of like I have to buy the limited edition console.
So, you know, I never wanted a edition console, but when the PS5 came out and they were like, "Oh yeah, you can get those limited edition plates and swap them out," I thought that was the coolest thing, and I've yet to actually grab any. I've yet to ever buy any
I
limited
think that's
edition.
different though.
Um,
I think that is a little different than just buying a straight up console with where you just can't do that, right?
yeah.
So
So, man, but we trailed off on a tangent there at the end. But yeah, there's cool games coming out this year, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of them. Um, the future of the podcast. We don't know how many episodes we're gonna do for this season, but we have kind of discussed offline. We do want to do some more game club episodes in this season. I don't even think we've said what games they're gonna be, but I think
we don't know what games they're gonna be, frankly.
But yeah, last season we did. I think we did a Expedition 33 and a Final Fantasy 14 were our two game club episodes.
Oh, you know what's gonna be so funny? We say that we don't know what the next game club is. It's gonna be literally the next episode. We're gonna talk about Final Fantasy 14 again. We're gonna talk about
Dawntrail with everything wrapped up, leading into Evercold.
Yeah.
It could be.
We say that, but it's literally the next episode.
You know, a game I'd really love to tackle as a game club game is that Final Fantasy Resonance that was announced.
Oh, yeah.
That's something we didn't talk about it, and we'll probably talk about it if we do a game club on it. But I'm very interested in Resonance because, like Octopath Traveler 0, it's a repackage of a mobile gacha game as just a standard release video game. And Square's like the only people who have ever done this, who are repackaging old gacha games as standalones, like defunct mobile games. And I think it's just so fascinating as a concept. There are other defunct mobile games that I am hoping get turned into standalone releases. I would love to see Nier Reincarnation get a standalone release.
I have good news for you. I read a post that that is actually an initiative at Square Enix for them to revisit a lot of these live service games that were shut down.
And Octopath Traveler 0 and Final Fantasy Resonance are the first two. Resonance is Brave Exvius.
Yes.
And so that I think would be a really fun one to do as a game club game. But so yeah, we definitely we're wanting to do some game club episodes. I think the hope is a cadence of a monthly release.
Yeah, I would say so.
I know when we started season 1, we did like every other week, and then we kind of slowed down and got into a monthly rhythm. So expect something next month. I'm not going to say exactly 4 weeks from when you're listening to this, but I'd say expect something next month. And we do plan to have, episodes coming out. I'm not going to say the end of the year is the end of the season. The season could bleed into 2027. It could be the end of the season. It could be a 6-episode season.
The end of the season could never end. Who knows?
Yeah, season 2 could be 39 episodes, and then we take another hiatus for some weird reason. Apparently all 1,000 episodes of One Piece was season 1, and then they took a break for the first time in 15 years or whatever, skipped like a month, and then they're like, okay, now we're in season 2. Like, who knows?
You know what? I have an idea. I think we talked about this. We'll talk offline about this so we don't spoil it.
Um,
But I have an idea of what game we could do because it is
okay.
coming out this month.
Oh, interesting. Um, but all that is to say, uh, we hoped that what we talked about today talked you off of a cliff of thinking that gaming is dead and that its best days are behind it. I know there's been a lot of bad news, but we're here to tell you that gaming is still great. Gaming is still fun. And we hope to talk more with you about all things gaming over the next however many episodes and months. Uh, but this has been the Game In Podcast, where we're stoked that you joined us. Remember to like, subscribe, do all the things, and we'll see you next time. Unless Jim wants to add anything.
No, I'm never done.
We're
I don't
done.
want to edit. I don't want to edit on a 3-hour podcast.